Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined this week again by Mr. Harry Jobson.
Good to be back.
And this week, it's sort of been a long time coming, this episode, because we're going to be talking about a Matt Damon film this week.
Yes!
And
get excited, guys.
Harry, if this is your first episode you're listening to, Harry is a proud fan of Matt Damon. It brings up Matt Damon all the time.
Big Matt Damon guy. One of Hollywood's unsung actors. Like truly like unsung stars.
And I'm just thinking, have we ever covered we would have talked about...
Well, we talked about like Inception because we talked about Nolan.
Yeah, we talked. So yeah, we would have Interstellar and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Oppenheimer.
I think that's probably it, though, in terms of like films we've covered that are like Matt Damon's in. I'd say.
Yeah, have you done a Saving Private Ryan? Have you done an Ocean?
No, I haven't. I've not done the Ocean's films.
Yeah,
but we've definitely talked about Matt Damon off record, and you're also very much, you have pushed for us to cover The Martian at some point as well.
Yeah, Ridley Scott, sort of one of my favorite works of his, but yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about Good Will Hunting this week, because there wasn't really anything else to do, and I figured let's do a Matt Damon film, and this is one I haven't seen in a long time, so I wanted to give it a rewatch. I needed sort of an excuse for a rewatch. Good Will Hunting. This, for me, is very much one of the first films I remember watching when I was like properly getting into seeing films.
Same with myself. Yeah.
As a teenager, so like 15, 16 years old. Yeah, and I rewatched it yesterday for the purposes of this, so... And that's only the second time I've ever seen it. But I assume, Harry,
I've watched it.
From my memory, this is like amongst your favorite films. From my memory,
yeah, it's top 10. I think it's in my top 10 at the moment, along with The Martian. So you've got two Matt Damons. Yeah, Good Will Hunting. In case you haven't seen it, what the fuck are you doing? Because like obviously like. You can talk about cultural impact, winning, best original screenplay for, Matt Damon and a young Ben Affleck as well. Best friends, like it's what everyone sort of dreams of, your first feature length film winning an Oscar, and not just but like also having one of the big gets for your film, Robin Williams, also receiving an Oscar for his performance. Did he?
Yes, best supporting.
Yeah. So to be able to sort of have that off the back of like, again, an incredibly quoted and like culturally significant film. You may not have, if you haven't seen it, you've definitely seen references to it. How do you like them apples is a big one. It's Not Your Fault is a big one that people often get. My favorite one, and I think I saw an Instagram reel recently of people doing like a like their own sort of comedy skit take on the conversation at the car, which again is quite like, if you're here in the next 10 years working construction, I'll fucking kill you. And that's a horrible Boston accent. But yeah, and look, this really made the careers for both Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. One slightly more successful than the other, if we're just talking about like box office. Not everyone loved, his Batman, or I don't know how many people were going out to really watch Ben Affleck Daredevil.
And I mean Ben Affleck, he did win the Best Picture Oscar for Argo, so he's had a pretty solid success.
Yeah, he's also won quite a few. What's the awards for doing bad again? What's that called?
Oh, Razzies.
Oh, Razzie, yeah. He's won more Razzies than I think a lot of A-list celebrities have.
I am just having a look here to see how many nominations he has.
I mean, yeah, and then
He has
like
12 Razzie nominations and 4 wins.
yeah, see, that's
So,
all time.
yeah, that's
And that,
pretty impressive. Yeah.
and that's not to knock Ben Affleck. Like, obviously, he did better than me. He helped write Good Will Hunting. And like off of the back of that is, like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were sort of seen as a duo. They were both casted again in a Kevin Smith with Dogma, not that long after that. And they both sort of went certain directions with their career, but Good Will Hunting as a project together is just like realistically to me almost without flaw. I think the largest flaw is that it just Good Will Hunting, especially Good Will Hunting, can just tend to drag a tiny bit. And there are certain moments in the film where you feel like it could pick it up a little bit. I think sequences around towards the mid half where you don't really know where the direction of the film's going. Okay, what's the resolution here? What's the end goal? Ultimately, it's for the character Will Hunting to find the love of his life, but that kind of comes through it finds itself throughout the film, but I think at certain points as a viewer you are left to just a little like the amazing chemistry between Matt Damon and Robin Williams is great. Like their scenes play off each other amazingly, but from an outsider looking in, the only and main negative in this film is it slows right down and you struggle to sort of find where the film's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you had that at all. Did you have that when you were rewatching it at all? I think it's around. It's sort of around like right after the sequences where he's getting into like fights and bashing people, and you're sort of like, what? Or what is this film trying to go with him trying to chase like his academic dream, or the girl? Because he gives up one of them anyway. So I think like ultimately it resolves itself, but there's a period, and it's about 15 minutes where I'm just sort of like it halfway through the second act where it hits a bit of a lull.
I did sort of find that going in I found that like before because Robin Williams, we don't meet him till I don't know half an hour into the movie, something like that. Like there's a decent bit of the movie before we meet Robin Williams.
Yeah, establishing Will Hunting and
yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I will say I definitely didn't enjoy this much as I remembered. Not to say I dislike it or anything. I still think it's quite good, but it doesn't hold up for me as much.
I think I can recognize that it suffers from this sort of like Instagram Reels, TikTok effect of having its best moments just constantly broadcasted and replayed over and over and over again. So it makes the rest of the film seem less dynamic, like which it isn't, because like my favorite moments of the film is the sort of speech where Robin Williams is talking about how he met the love of his life. He says that like it was Game 6 of the World Series, and he like ditched his mates and didn't go to the game for Pug Fisher's game-winning home run, a grand slam or whatever, and sort of Matt Damon's character, like Will Hunting's reaction to that. And him going, I don't care if Helena Troy walked into the... Like, again, I've said that before. It's one of my favorite sequences in a movie. I reckon it's like so... The chemistry there is just insanely palpable. But I just think that, other moments as well. Like the part where he's schooling the Harvard student in the bar who's trying to like embarrass Ben Affleck's character. I'm like, yeah, that's a very righteous moment, but that's been put on TikTok a million times, and that's what everyone thinks the film is. And it can sort of begin to where when you sit back and watch it, you start to go, oh, there is a lot more just conversation in this film. It's very, very low action. It's very relatively tame, but I also think it is one of Robin Williams' best roles, like ever.
Yeah. I do just want to say before we get into the film properly, Ben Affleck was 25 when he won the Oscar for this film. I'm currently 22, so I've got 3 years left
before you're officially worse than Ben Affleck.
before I yeah. Yeah, so the film, so I was just having a look before. It got nominated for 9 Oscars, which was tied for the second most of any film nominated. It tied with LA Confidential for 9 nominations, and was only second to Titanic with 14 nominations.
I do remember 1997 being an incredibly stacked year.
Yeah, I mean, just to look at the best picture lineup that year, it was Titanic winning, but also As Good as It Gets, The Full Monty, Good Will Hunting, and LA Confidential were the best picture nominees that year. But yeah, so to get into Good Will Hunting properly, I mean, yeah, this was very much the film that made Matt Damon and Ben Affleck names. You know, I'm sure they've done bits and pieces. You know, I'm sure like this wasn't like the first thing they ever did,
They had
but
minor roles, I believe, individually. I think
yeah.
Matt Damon before Good Will Hunting was in few seasons of a TV series,
Mm,
a few episodes, sorry, of a TV series, and then was on Will and Grace for a period as well. But
mm,
I can't. I'm not sure what show he was on beforehand. But yeah, I
mm.
think it was like sort of a lower, smaller sort of, series. Like it didn't. He definitely wasn't. It wouldn't have been his only job. Like he wasn't feeding himself on this.
This came out in 1997, and this was sort of in the time and sort of the period where sort of in the 90s that sort of studios and were sort of they sort of came up around the same time as like Quentin Tarantino and like Kevin Smith and Richard Linklater, sort of who sort of directors in the 90s where a studio would say, oh, this is like a good script, this is a talented young director, let's take a shot on them, you know. But this is sort of sort of the period where they were willing to go in and sort of take a shot and give these sort of young up and comers an opportunity, you know. And this was, you know, through Miramax, which was Harvey Weinstein's company, so which is, you know, obviously not.
It's a shame.
It's a shame, yeah, because
It's a
he
shame when I'm
did give
watching a
them.
film I love and then I just see fucking Miramax and
But apparently, the reason they went with Miramax was that they sent the script around to however many different like studios, but they just
the gay scene.
yeah, they wrote in like a gay sex scene in the middle of the script. And you know, Harvey Weinstein was the only one who said, "Hey, so what's with this random like sex scene that just happens?" And they're like,
Including he
"Oh,
was the
well,
only one
guess
that
we'll."
read it.
Yeah, which I mean, I think is sort of unfortunate to miss out on something because you don't want to read. You know, like I understand that. Like, I'm sure they get tons of scripts in, you know, all the time, but it's like,
Well,
you
no
know,
one really took him seriously because of like I think largely their age, which like is a great point. And I also and not justified. I I
mm,
I understand the argument to the extent that they were immature enough to come up with the salute. Like it is an immature thing to do. To go,
yeah,
well, let's put a big gay sex scene in the middle. See if anyone reads it, will know that they actually read it.
yeah,
And yeah, that is very 23 years old. Like that's very, it is.
yeah,
It's mid early 20s. It's what a guy would do.
yeah,
Absolutely. But it's
and
also like
from
kind of probably
you
half the
know
reason they didn't get.
from like Boston, you know, like
Yeah, so
uh,
it's very, very, very creative
mm.
and very much something I would find, and I do find
I
quite
mean, I think it's very
hilarious.
funny, yeah,
But like, I think that in a weird way it sort of justifies why people wouldn't take them very seriously.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
obviously, Good Will Hunting should be. It's a great film, but
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess it depends if they did, yeah, you know, read the script or not, which, you know, it's a bit, we don't actually know if they did read the script or not. And if they just got to that bit and were like, okay, let's just cut this, let's just not read anymore because these are the. Yeah, I mean, what's good for what's good about? I mean, it's about Will Hunting, played by Matt Damon, and it's he's a janitor, but he's wicked smart
He's a
as a
genius. He's wicked smart. He's a genius.
um as Ben Affleck likes to say. And I think that I think because this is a Matt Damon film, I think Matt Damon is a very solid actor. I think he's always, I don't know if I'd say he's like the most like, if I'd say he's got like the most range as an actor per se, but he's certainly,
No, I mean,
he's always got like, he's a very dependable.
well, yeah, I mean, if we look at like he is. He's not one of these actors that's only been in like great films. Let's be honest. I mean, he was
I mean,
in.
he was in a Great Wall. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, where he's like, "Why is there a white guy with a ponytail fighting in
Yeah,
the Chinese War?"
fighting, yeah, in
Or
China, which is incredible.
or like Elysium or Downsizing. I did like Downsizing, but I understand that it wasn't a box office success.
Yeah.
Um,
But he's done tons of, I mean, he was, Jason Bourne, he was in the
Ethan
Ocean's
Oppenheimer. I quite liked him
movies.
in Eurotrip. Talented Mr. Ripley. Yeah,
He's actually
Ocean's
quite good in Mr.
films.
Ripley, actually.
Ford vs Ferrari. The
Yeah, like he does
Departed.
sort of, not that not that I think he does like the same thing in everything, but he's sort of like, I don't know if I say he doesn't have much range because that feels almost like an ins. I mean, maybe
No,
that is what I mean.
I understand what you mean, but he always seems to be the gifted guy. He always seems to be the guy that's like either the one or like when he's especially in a supporting role, I fully think that he kind of does play the same character. Like in a supporting role in Oppenheimer, it's the same as his supporting role basically in Ford versus Ferrari, which is similar to his supporting role in the film Air. Like he's very much just like, and in that way I get, but like other things like obviously you got Saving Private Ryan, which he's not even in that much as the namesake. Like,
yeah, it's about Saving Private Ryan, and he's like barely in the film. Like he's like in the last 15-20 minutes maybe of that movie. Like I haven't seen that movie in ages, but he's barely in it.
yeah,
Like
he's
it's the
barely
journey to finding him. That's the
like Finding Nemo, but it's a war Finding Nemo. But I think that Matt Damon like is incredibly solid, and I think when he shines really well. And then other times he's just like consistent across the board, and then other times he's in Great Wall. So yeah, he's in that Rainmaker film as well. But yeah, he just sort of like has a very mixed career. He clearly wanted to do certain sort of indie styles, but I think in Good Will Hunting, especially younger Matt Damon plays very similarly to like a Leo in my mind. He's very much like a pretty boy. He's got the blonde middle part. He's very in this film like he's supposed to be this like street guy, like street kid that like grew up in rough and tumble Boston, who's also wicked smart. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, he's the gifted guy from a rough area, which is, I mean, what he likes to play. But I think, in a weird way, he's too like pretty for the role. And I know that's, but like, when you look at like all the set, like of course, I just it's almost not believable. Like a guy that looks well manicured and like constantly wearing clean clothes.
He's a bit too clean. Yeah, like his hair's all nice and like sort of
he's just
trimmed.
He's very groomed. He's very groomed
Yeah.
for someone who's supposed to be like I work construction. I'm rough and tumble. It's like,
Yeah. But that really did not sound like a
no. I started when it meant to, and then it sort of went like an Australian bogan. But yeah, he's wicked smart.
Yeah. But I mean, I do think he is giving a very good performance here.
I'm also a big fan of a lot of the filmmaking throughout the film. Certain shots, like long hallway shots, they love that in this film. They do it with certain like sequences when he's on the subway and the train, which I love. Those shots, shots when he's in, because he's a janitor at Harvard. Is it Harvard? MIT. MIT. I think it's MIT.
I don't remember what
I don't know.
I assume it's a real MIT.
He's a janitor at MIT, and a professor there puts up an equation, like a super equation that no one can solve, and he comes in at night and he solves it. But using those sequences of you've storyboarded out when you're making this film. All right, this is what he's going to do in this moment. This is how it's going to look, and the way that transitions to screen is just gorgeous. Like a lot of those just long hallway shots feel like they can go on forever, but they isolate you because of how close he is in frame to what is already established as at that point the only fucking conflict in the film, which is an equation. So yeah, I think those shots, especially in that time, work so well. It seems basic looking back on it now, but like a janitor that comes in and solves equations at night. I mean, been parodied to a lot, quite a bit. It's culturally significant. Yeah, I think at least from a story structure perspective, it works well. It's dynamic. It's the first time you sort of this is the originator of that.
But I mean, it's not just Matt Damon in this. I mean, Robin Williams.
Phenomenal.
I mean, is there anybody who doesn't like Robin Williams? Is he not?
I don't think I've ever met find him obnoxious.
Yeah. Which I personally don't get. I think Robin Williams is very funny.
Well, I have a hot take.
Oh boy. Okay.
I don't like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay.
And I understand it's one of his most beloved characters. But that is
I
one
haven't watched it in a while. I would never.
But that's one that I just struggle to watch. I actually like the sort of concept, but especially he does a oh hello little boys and girls voice for an entire film. It's it's like I love, as much as I love Jim Carrey in films, he can absolutely be obnoxious. You really need to sort of know.
Yeah, you need to know how to rein him in
for him. Yeah. And I think the exact same goes for Robin Williams. And I'm actually curious to say, do you think there are any up and coming or current gen actors that give you that that Jim Carrey, that Robin Williams feeling at all, where they're so dynamic, or do you think that's starting to die out?
I don't know, honestly.
Because we're not really getting comedies like that anymore. But not to say Robin Williams only did Good Morning Vietnam, phenomenal film.
I mean, Jim Carrey did Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine, and
you got Dead Poets. You've got the original Jumanji. I quite like him in Night in New Museums, but obviously he's Aladdin. He's Hook. He's Peter Pan.
I don't know. I think because I mean, Jim Carrey and Robin Williams, they started as stand-up comedians before.
Yeah, but yeah, no, they both both their own. I think Jim Carrey was in Living Color, and I think Robin Williams wasn't Saturday Night Live, was it? Was it something along those lines?
Let me check. I don't think he was Saturday Night Live, but he seems
he was on stage. I believe he went to Juilliard.
So it's just Robin Williams stand-up comedy.
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy was his pretty much his first thing he did.
Right. Well, I was just more so curious because I'm finding lately that we've sort of lost that explosive, dynamic, comedic actor.
Sort of Yeah, also sort of rubber faced.
Rubber, able to both play like great dramatic roles, and it's insane how Robin Williams can turn on a dime. Like you look at this guy, especially in this film, and you don't think, oh yeah, Aladdin or Mrs. Doubtfire. He brings so much wisdom. And how old is he in the film? Like 40 when they recorded. He died at what, 63 in 2014. This
I
came
think it
out in
was around there.
1997.
Yeah, I think he would have been about 40-ish.
Yeah, he was about 40. One doesn't look it. They aged him the hell up in this film. Holy.
They really did. Yeah, he's got I think the facial hair and like the sort of color in the facial hair, I think really does a lot to make him seem older than he is.
Yeah, and yeah, but he just brings so much wisdom into that, like into this role. He's such a comfort, especially in Good Will Hunting. His character is feels so like comfortable and real and realized, like someone who, like the way, because his character realistically has like the most emotional depth to them.
Mm.
He executes that brilliantly. Like it comes across amazingly the way that he can sort of portray grief and like he's incredibly somber and like the times where he's able to go. I believe this is off scripted. Like it was improvised as well. He was like sometimes she'd fart in her sleep.
Yeah,
There's
that's what
like a
I've
Boston accent, but
yeah, that's what I've read is that was apparently was scripted, and so Matt Damon's reaction to that is like very natural because
mm,
um and I think Robin Williams is very much renowned for his sort of improv ability. Like, if you see him on talk shows or when he's, giving interviews, he was very, quick witted and very, smart, and was able to just come up with gags sort of off the top of his head. And I think he's a very sorely missed talent because, and I mean, I remember the day, like finding out when Robin Williams passed, and it's very surreal because it didn't seem real. It didn't seem like, oh, this is
yeah, it was a big day at our house.
yeah, and I mean it was tragic because there was no sort of, I mean, nobody knew anything. Like he wasn't.
He very suffered in silence. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, at the time, it was sort of like, oh, I think when it sort of happened, people were like, oh, it's because of depression, and then it was like found out, and it's like, no, actually, he had like this debilitating like disease that was gonna be absolute hell for him to go through. So he thought, I might I'll go out this way instead, which I understand. I don't. I fully understand why someone would say,
I understand the motivation behind it. Like I do, like in
yeah,
theory.
yeah, and it's but from my understanding, he was always depressed. I mean, that's just what most great. It's very common with comedians.
Yeah, Jim Carrey similarly, especially after the loss of his wife.
Yeah.
You saw an entire sort of shift in his demeanor, mentality. Like he only really does Sonic now.
But yeah, Robin Williams is excellent in this film, and I mean, there's that very famous scene near the end where he says to Will that it's not his fault.
Which is a powerful scene. It really is.
Yeah, that it got me a little choked up watching it this time. I was like, that is, and it's something just so simple, like it's sort of that thing where it's like it doesn't take a lot to like to you know like
Yeah.
one scene I sort of think about, which again is unfortunate because it's got Kevin Spacey in it. But there's
Yeah.
that scene in American Beauty near the end where like his daughter's friend asks him how he is, and he just sort of has that moment where he's like, you know, nobody's asked me that recently, and he just sort of has that moment where he just sort of takes that in, and I think, like, you know, it's a shame it's Kevin Spacey in that scene because he kind of ruins everything now because it's Kevin Spacey. But I think
Yeah.
that is such a great moment in that film, and I think just that moment where Robin Williams, he just keeps, you know, and Will, he just sort of he, you know, he's because he spent so much time repressing, you know, that I mean that's sort of what we see in the film is that he's you know, he's a damaged character,
Yeah.
and you know, he pushes, you know, he meets this girl Skylar, and he sort of pushes her away, even though, you know, he likes her and he gets along with her, and they, you know, have good times together. You know, like he really he just sort of pushes people away. And I think there's something very real and very honest about that, especially for a film from sort of the 90s. Like, I don't know, like it just feels a bit like that might have been a bit more taboo in the 90s just because of sort of
Yeah.
culture and things.
Well, people didn't really sort of discuss sort of how personal like effects could impact relationships, especially in media back then. You know, like it wasn't everything. Especially, we didn't have a constant discussion going on because there wasn't, you know, there wasn't the internet. There wasn't a place for constant discussion on a global scale to be going on. We weren't as exposed to everything, so to have something like that, you know, be brought up in a film was pretty unique. Yeah, I'd have to agree.
And also in like Boston, because my perception of Boston
Working class.
is very much, it's very sort of working class, and it's very sort of a bit macho as a area. Yeah, something about Boston doesn't scream to me like
Sensitive.
they don't talk about their, you know, their traumas and their sort of emotions that much, and they just sort of repress and sort of keep everything, just sort
We
of
just go back to
push
work.
things down. Yeah, to talk about another character, Minnie Driver as Skylar,
Does a
who
great
I think
job.
is very good. Yeah, I think she has. I mean, one of the best scenes in the film is where she's telling this joke about the old couple in bed, and it's to be fair, that is a fucking brilliant joke. I'm gonna be honest, like that
Yeah.
is an outstanding joke. Um, and I remember because I didn't know that, like when I first watched the film, I remember just like I didn't know where it was going, and then it just like it happens, and I was like, "Oh, that is an excellent joke." And yeah, let's watching it again. I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great joke."
Mm, mm.
And I think that she works really well opposite Matt Damon. I think,
They both have great chemistry as well. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I know people who've seen this. I was looking at reviews for it on Letterboxd after I watched it, and there was someone who was saying she was saying that like she was like crying so much afterwards, that because she like on her flight that like an air hostess came over and had like checked on her to see if she was okay, because you know she was very emotionally impacted by the ending.
Yeah.
And there is something, very uh, sort of beautifully poetic about that ending. And I think that it's like the thing with it is it could feel so sort of hammy and very like a bit cheesy and overly like rom-com-esque, like that ending. But with him deciding to go, he doesn't take the position and he goes to see about a girl, as he says.
Yeah, son of a bitch stole his line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
I think that's I think he's very she does a very good job, and she also got an Oscar nomination for this performance, which I think is very fair.
Absolutely. And I think that yeah, like even from when she first comes on the screen, you can sort of tell that she like there is a bit of an immediate chemistry there.
Mm,
And I think that like obviously plays into the film, the idea that Will's character leaves a secure future with like an NSA job to chase love, and after having like processed his trauma, and that's seen as the mature choice, even though like it would be highly regarded as the immature choice, but realistically I think like finally taking a chance and doing something is a really big sort of not only step for the character, but it's an incredibly relatable relationship for a lot of the viewers as well. It's not like they met romantically in some bookstore or like, oh,
yeah,
you got mail or fucking, it's
yeah,
not like any of these, like a rom-com that you'll come across. It's just like, yeah, he meets her pretty naturally in a bar and they get along and they have chemistry and they like want to see if it works. And I think that's like sets a much better expectation for a lot of young people that might be watching the film for the first time on what an early adult relationship with two individuals that are processing their own things and how it might like sort of be played out. Not that you'll have this, like, not that everyone has like, this ultimate romantic climax where they, like it's this huge moment, because your life isn't a movie, but I mean, if it was a directly accurate portrayal of a real life relationship, then it'd be an incredibly boring film.
yeah. I
But
think it feels very like they meet in a bar, and it's just kind of that. It's like it's not this like overly sappy, like, oh, they were both walking down the street and, she dropped some her bags or whatever and he helped her,
yeah,
like it's just like, yeah, it feels real. It feels
yeah,
genuine. And there's this fucking arsehole guy who's trying to seem like he's way cleverer than he is. Uh just like reciting a bunch of stuff, and then Matt Damon has the great line of, how do you like them apples, with her number and everything on it, just to, to piss this guy. And I think that's a great moment.
but like I think that, I mean, it's a difficult film to sort of critically talk about because it in my mind it executes a lot so well. Again, besides the fact that it can tend to drag. It's a 2 hour odd runtime, which for a film back then was quite long, but like that was relatively standard for a long film, an Oscar worthy film. But yeah, like then now we're looking at 3 and 4 hour runtime. So what are we talking about here? But I, other than finding that it slightly drags, there's a reason it's in my top 10 all time, and it's because it's so full of scenes where they're like, oh, I love this bit, and 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 that comes down to the screenplay. That comes down to sort of, their ability to write these moments, and it almost does feel like it was written by two 25-year-olds because of just like how sort of righteous it is about proving these two characters are like great. Look, I mean, I'd do the same if I was writing a film. I'd make my character the one that gets to have these moments. But these constant moments in this film is what great things are made up of just good moments. And I think like this film has it, and it's glued together again relatively well, like a 9 out of 10. Well, I just think that there are certain sequences during the film. Again, it takes a little while for Robin Williams to get introduced, where I start to go, because I rewatched it quite recently, where I went, okay, I can sort of sit my bias aside and see that this is dragging.
Mhm.
As much as I am still enjoying the film, because it's Good Will Hunting. It's one of these films that has become, I think, essential to watch if you're going to want to get into film. I think Good Will Hunting. I think you look at The Shawshank Redemption. I think you look at The Shining. I think you look at at least one of each genre of like what's considered sort of top of their class. But Good Will Hunting is more of a dialogue piece, because that's what it is. But it's its best moment. That Helena Troy moment is one of my favorite. Not specific. I call it the Helena Troy moment because it's the most recognizable line from there. But that
Mhm.
moment of dialogue between Robin Williams and Matt Damon, and how just like excited the characters get, and building up to this. Oh my god, you just seen it? And he's like, I don't know, I wasn't there.
Mhm.
I was with my soon to be wife, like at a bar, and to have that be that moment that like he calls back to, obviously at the end of the film, with like, sorry, had to go see about a girl, is it's like designed to be, and it like executed very poetically.
Yeah, no, I think the film, the sort of the strongest part of this film is sort of it's the writing and the acting are the real sort of like, not that like the direction is particularly bad or anything. It's just sort of like I don't I don't watch this I don't watch this film being like, oh wow, look at how amazing like the direction is or anything like that. I sort of and I think that the score was done by Danny Elfman, which I always forget about because it's just
Mm.
not the kind of music I associate with Danny Elfman. I like the music though. I think it's not like one of Danny Elfman's best scores or anything. I think Danny Elfman has produced some wonderful, wonderful film scores. And I mean, he was nominated for an Oscar for this and Men in Black in the same year, which is very solid because the music in Men in Black is also excellent.
Yeah, that are worth sort of discussing.
Uh,
Outside of core performances, I feel like we didn't really talk about Ben Affleck's performance at all. He
yeah,
he did a great job supporting role. Like his job realistically is to just sort of play Matt Damon's friend. He
yeah,
does
he doesn't have like the character sort of.
he does suffer from being too hot for the role in a platonic way.
Yeah.
Um, they are
Um,
very, and considering they weren't even Hollywood at this point, they're very incredibly like pampered, and you don't, even though they might both be from Boston, you don't believe they're both from Boston. Like it,
mm,
that is the thing that I struggle with the hardest, and the accent, especially that Ben Affleck does, is
mm.
so just, I'll fucking kill ya. It's
Yeah,
almost, it's so like,
that's another great scene.
yeah.
And I think like there's a lot to that scene where he says, you have all this, uh, you're super intelligent, you've got all these gifts that any one of these guys would kill to have, and you're gonna just throw it away.
and
Um,
and and yeah, and then Will Hunting character says, like the character Will Hunting says something like, "Oh, I'm sick of hearing this shit. Like, what, I owe it to myself?" And then Ben Affleck's immediately chirp back with, "Nah, fuck that. You owe it to me." Where it's like,
mm,
yeah, absolutely. Like it, because if I like in a way, you can sort of justify Will Hunting as a character not wanting to, like he has a secure job lined up. He's not like, but he almost goes against. I don't, like, he wouldn't be working construction. He'd be a very well-paying, secure job at the NSA. Like, So, like, as much
Yeah.
as the dialogue, like, is important, he doesn't really listen to Ben Affleck's character either at all. He is still bro, but just chooses love over security.
Yeah. And there is, something to say for that. Like, I guess the question is sort of when he makes that decision, he has the option to either go for this, massive job that will, be very beneficial to him in the
Set
long
him up for
run.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. Or does he make that? Does he make the real personal decision to go after this girl that he likes? Um, and I mean that's sort of, I guess, sort of parallels Robin Williams in this. Like, Robin Williams, he had the opportunity. Obviously he didn't know, obviously, that this would be like a huge game. This apps. But
Yeah.
he had the option to either go to this game and he would have been part of like this real massive sort of history, I guess. This big moment in, is it baseball?
Sorry, yeah. Pudge Smith's home run.
Yeah, baseball.
Pudge
Or he
Fisk?
instead, or would he rather, spend time with this girl, and then they get married and they're together for 20 something years? And I guess it just depends on what you value. There is something to be said about that, and I think it's very interesting that Robin Williams' character, he spends, he's told, he's talking to Will Hunting, he's like, Will Hunting's like, oh, why don't you just remarry? And he's like, well, my wife died. And he's like, yes, why don't you remarry? And he's like, I already met
Yeah.
and there's something very, very beautiful about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there are some people, they lose their partners and then they remarry, which is like, I guess. Look, I'm not going to judge. Like, if you want to get remarried, you can get remarried and everything. Um, but also, it depends how quickly you get remarried. Like, if you're getting remarried within like a couple years, that feels a bit like, really? Like, did you know what I mean? Like, but to talk about it from sort of my perspective, as you're aware, Harry, my
Yeah.
dad passed, and my mum has basically said I'm never gonna get married again.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't. While it is sad, and that she won't have somebody, a partner to grow old with, as I think everyone should. But it's like, I get that, I get this idea of, you meet the one, and you're married for however many years, and then you lose them, and then you don't want to get married again. And I think there is, something very deeply, there's beautiful and about that. But I do really like it here, that because again, I feel like it's interesting for it to be like for a male character to be like that, because that just doesn't seem very common. I feel like when people lose their partners, I feel like more often than not you hear about men remarrying more than women. And I don't know if that's just like,
Yeah.
which is, it just feels a bit weird to say. Like, and look, I'm sure there are women who have lost their husbands and have remarried. Like, I'm sure that does happen as well, but I feel like it's more the other way around that I hear it. So I think there's something very novel and very unique and interesting that Robin Williams' character is very intent on, I'm not going to marry again. Like, I do really like that. And I think that's, I think it's just really nice. I think it's a really nice, sort of character that we get from Robin Williams in this.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and yeah, I mentioned it a few times, but yeah, his ability to sort of bring a wisdom and really be able to sort of bring a lot of like this character's, trauma, or not. I don't know if trauma is the word, but like his reason to be so solemn, like out, and the way he projects that, I think, is so so well done. It's a really hard thing to do. It's almost something you can't teach. It's something that like you're able to do, and he was one of the best at it. I mean, again, with films like Good Morning Vietnam, with Dead Poets Society, shit, he
Yeah.
does it in Night at the Museum. He is my Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And
Rowan Williams, I think he works so well in this role is because he is one of the most inherently likable people just ever. Like, I really think it works so well because you just can't not love Robin Williams and think like he's not an incredibly lovable man. And like you never hear bad words about him. Like whenever people like tell stories about Robin Williams, they're always like very complimentary, and he just comes across very well, and people really like him.
yeah. Oh well, yeah, absolutely. But and I think that's a large part of like, again, it's volumes on like what he was able to just naturally do. And yeah, I truly love him in this film. Obviously, this film is both Matt Damon's and Robin Williams' film as much as the rest of the supporting cast is great. It's the dialogue between the two characters there, the sort of juxtaposition between like young and like old. There was almost this and even though again 40 is not old, but
Yeah, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's like it's not old to be 40. Like it's I mean, I've got an older sister who is closer to 40 than she is 30 now.
yeah, right.
Which is fucking craziness, by the way. I mean, he looks older than like 40 here. I would say, like, I did not think he was 40 here.
Yeah, because he doesn't really seem it. Like he could have been late 50s, early 60s. His character. Besides the Boston accents, it is truly a great film.
So do you not like Boston accents?
I struggle with them. I do, and I can't not listen to one without sort of giggling a little bit. In the same, and I think that's what Mark Wahlberg has done to me.
Yeah, I mean, I do really like it still. It didn't hold up for me on a rewatch, but like, it's not that I think it's bad per se. It's just like it did take a while for me to really get into it. I'm like, man, it does really take a while before it gets to Robin Williams' characters.
And that's what I mean. And then even when you're like halfway through the second act, you start to go, "We're in it now." But it just seemed to grinds to like almost a halt before it picks back up again. At least I found it that way.
Yeah, I still think it holds up. Like it doesn't feel particularly dated in a way that like it maybe could have done, which I think is important.
It's a universal feeling that this film,
and it's not I mean, do they drop a couple like gay slurs in there, which is like for me, I do really like it. I think it's a very solid film. I think Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they did absolutely deserve the Oscar they won for this. And Robin Williams for supporting actor as well. Again, very deserved. It is, I think it's really funny. I don't know if it's just because they've got silly voices. They've got silly Boston accents.
Yeah, the silly voices don't help.
Which is like, there's like, it's like how people who like some people just love New Zealand accents. You know what I mean? Like there are people who just love New Zealand accents and think they're just incredibly delightful and charming. But yeah, I give it a very solid 8 out of 10, and that is a drop down from a low 9 out of 10. So, I do still like it. I still think it is very solid. I absolutely think it is worth watching. Like, if you haven't seen it, I think just in terms of writing, I think it's a real an accomplished screenplay for guys who hadn't really this was their first. They hadn't written. I assume this was the first thing they'd ever written.
Yeah.
And then did they just not collaborate and write any other scripts together for because I feel like in my memory they wrote this script together and then they didn't write another script for however many years. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
I think
just,
it was a while.
which is just crazy, by the way. They won an Oscar and then they just sort of left and yeah, we're good for now. We can just sort of.
We did it. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, once you win an Oscar, it's kind of I mean, I kind of already peaked. Do I need to do this again? And also, I just want to say before I let you give your final piece, Matt Damon, he advocates for teachers, and he's a very sort of outspoken in that front, which I fully respect that, because teachers are underpaid, and I know my sisters are teachers, so I obviously think I have a lot of respect for teachers, and I know teachers, so it's they deserve to be paid well because it's not easy being a teacher. And I like that Matt Damon sort of has a platform. I like it when people have a platform and then they use their platform, for good,
Yeah.
But yeah, I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can respect an 8 out of 10. And yeah, obviously Matt Damon, very well educated individual. He, I mean, he defended the Great Wall of China, for fuck's sake, guys. But yeah, he's I'm a big Matt Damon fan. I mean, that's well known. It's kind of, again, he's a bit of a weird guy to be a fan of. But it's just
I think I must have I feel like I must have mentioned that when you first went on about how great Matt Damon was, because I mean I like Matt Damon, but you seem completely and utterly in love with the man. Which
I am. I just think he's so. I just think he has this It's something about him.
I'm not judging. I think that's. I mean, it's fair. I think he comes across.
I don't care if you do judge. I mean,
are you going to be seeing the Odyssey this year?
Yeah, it looks shit. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, but I struggle. I'm not really even seeing this because of Matt Damon, because again, to be honest, I don't love everything that he's in, but I think everything that he is in, he still does a pretty good job, even though the film around him is quite shocking. But I don't know. It's this charm. I think it was The Martian. The Martian is what sold me on him, because it is realistic that film is just a vlog. And then obviously,
we should probably do The Martian at some point as well, honestly, because spoilers, I really like The Martian.
Yeah, it's a great film. But Good Will Hunting, obviously, is another great Matt Damon piece. And then I'm also a big fan of Eurotrip. I like his role in that, but that's just me. I like that, it's just not what you'd think from Matt Damon. Yeah, I don't know. For his first go out, and obviously being a big Matt Damon fan, this film for me for a really long time was a 10 out of 10 until the most recent rewatch, where and it may have been the sort of, I wasn't in a particularly negative mental state. I was having a good chill day and I was watching it, but I was able, when I sort of put on a bit more of a critical viewer mindset, because I didn't want to just spend, an hour talking about I love Robin Williams and Matt Damon and their dialogue, even though I did that anyway. I wanted to sort of put on my picking apart brain and seeing, okay, how can I think critically about a few of these things, and what can I say that I might not? And then when I sort of looked at it that way, there are a few things, again, largely the pacing, that, again, I mean, this is the first film, but it brought it to a 9 out of 10 for me. It's still one of my favorites. I don't even know if it is in my top 10. I really do have to do a redux. I do love Good Will Hunting, but my top 10 films, I want to be something that I think there's an it's hard, right? Because art is subjective.
Yeah.
And all films are art. You don't get to pick, in the wise words of Seth Rogen, you don't get to pick and choose what's art. Like, Minions is art just as much as Oppenheimer is art. They're just different. As much as I love this film, on a rainy day, I don't know how often I'm putting on Good Will Hunting. And I know I love it, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It asks for a lot. And it probably still would be, but if I'm going in my favorite films of all time, they want to be something that I can put on whenever. Like, I'm flying, a little shout out on the podcast. I'm flying out to Japan in about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. That's a 9.5 hour flight from Sydney. I'm going to need something to watch, you know? And I'm sitting in the middle between two strangers. I don't know if I want to put on Good Will Hunting and start to tear up. But that's not a merit on whether or not it's a great film. It's just like sort of my favorite things. But yeah, look, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. It still executes incredibly well. Like, it still comes across incredibly well. It's still a great, great film. It's just, it's not one of those films that I think are just perfect. And quite literally the only thing is just sometimes it's slow, like, and it slows down in parts I think it doesn't need to, and it's a pacing issue for me. And that and the accents, but like, I can get past the accents. It's not like a genuine criticism of the film. I understand that's a preference from me, because they are set in Boston, so like, I get it. I still don't like them, but you know, I love the film. Like, the relationships, and that's what the film's built on, is like relationships. Whether it's romantic or friends or work, or, you know, the relationship you have with your own, like, identity, like, or, you know, with Robin Williams, because it's that's so strong. It's one of the strongest, like chemistries I've seen on film. So besides, you know, like Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield in The Amazing Spider-Man, I obviously a huge Good Will Hunting fan, but I had to think a bit more critically, and I thought I'd give it the realest possible answer I could. So it's a 9 out of 10.
I mean, that's still pretty good. Like,
yeah, relatively, but it was a 10 out of 10. Like, it was.
So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Harry, again for joining me this week.
Oh, thank you for having me. Of course, I love this film. I'm always happy to, especially when it's Matt Damon. Matt Damon.
Yeah, thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.